country fresh.
Welcome to the Friendlyjordies Podcast. Thank you for tuning in once again.
To the Country Fresh Pod.
For all those people that wish
Fresh
me
o'clock.
a happy married life.
Yeah, fuck.
Thank you very much. I did upload a picture of us from the henna night the night before.
But unfortunately, they're now divorced. So just so you know.
It was a good run.
Actually, DomeKang did ask me that.
What?
What?
Are you divorced?
No. He when
Is it over?
I messaged him like an invitation maybe like 3 months ago, right? And then a week before the wedding, he says, "Hey man, just checking in. Is the wedding still happening?"
Yes, that's
I
right.
was like, "Yes, it is."
Fuck.
It's like, "Okay, then I'm coming, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're coming." He's like, "Okay, cool. I'll see you then."
It was really cool to see that, like...
Yeah, also, what do you
Dude
think about DomeKang, Mislav, now that you
Dude,
finally met him?
Dude, Jordan nailed it. Like, look, it was really good to see that, like, man who was, like, busted out of the Matrix in real life, you know? Like, Jordan said, that's my impression, a guy that, like, broke through the Matrix. I'm like, get me out of here. It's like, first, you must believe. But Jordan nailed it, right? He's literally Ryan Gosling from Drive. He's just a soft-spoken, stoic man who's seen too much, knows too much, and like is very religious. But he's definitely Zen, and I think he has no ego. He's not. It was great to talk to him.
It was amazing not seeing him for a long time because it was just like, there is a man who has been to hell and back, which is ironic because he is the most zealotly Christian man I've ever met.
Yeah. He even looked like Neo with his long jacket. I thought it was Neo.
Yeah,
Was Neo-
and how Ryan Gosling is this? You ask him, so what do you do for a living? He's like, I'm a cleaner.
Yeah.
I clean things.
Yeah. I don't carry a gun. I don't sit down in the deal. I clean.
I carry a mop.
Yeah, I clean. Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, some terrorists come in, then he's just like, time to get into business. I'm like,
Dude,
And I live at my mom's house.
he came in before...
Yeah.
Human being.
He came to the
do you
wedding
have a girlfriend?
before most people.
Yeah, but she's a hologram.
He came to the wedding before most people, including my parents. So I'm taking like some early photos as the sun's going down, right? And from the distance, I see a man in that coat, buff, bold, but not bold out of necessity, bold out of choice.
Yeah, bald out of choice because hair is a luxury. And he's like that fucking Christian that he's like the Opus Dei people that's just like deprives himself of any pleasure at all.
As he was walking
Except
towards...
alcohol.
Yeah, he's not depriving.
He drank a lot.
And he's not depriving himself of busting a move on the dance floor.
And I don't know if I should tell the story that I told you just before, how someone had to be dragged away.
No, yeah.
What?
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that,
yeah.
okay?
But like, he got into some a sticky, violent situation. So anyway,
At
continue.
the wedding.
Yeah. Look at that cunt. Like,
Upplay? Can you tell me in the upplay?
I don't find trouble. Trouble finds me.
Upplay?
No,
Can you tell me in the upplay?
upplay, sure. But like, the thing is, it wasn't his fault. He's great. If you're watching,
I'm telling you,
DomeKang,
trouble finds him.
Yeah.
Trouble finds him. Trouble found him.
Did he jump out again naked with his willy going, hey?
He almost.
The devil peanut. Yeah.
The devil's in the details, even if I say yes to that. Anyways, like, he comes to me, and I literally thought John Wick was about to assassinate me the way he was walking
my
towards.
God.
Yeah, he's got that
He's
feeling
got
about
that
him.
vibe, yeah.
Yeah, I think you described him as the guy from Hitman 3. It is amazing to see that man now looking at him and kind of just being like, holy shit, how did he improve? I think everybody else just kind of looks like an accountant from H&R Block who's over the edge. He doesn't.
He seemed pretty good. He seemed like in a good place and shit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there might be something to this like
Cleaning.
organized religion stuff.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I did buy you that breakup book about Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else is amazing?
It was a Christian breakup book. I didn't realize.
How weird is it that he's gone through all of the sects and he's realized like the true answer is Anglicanism?
Yeah, I know.
Anglicanism. What is that sect of Christianity?
It's just like King Charles is the Pope.
Yeah, it's the mainstream.
That's pretty much it. And then he's just like, finally, the true answer.
The stubby sausage fingers man is God.
Yeah,
He's
and he's not wrong. Like he is appointed by God at the very least.
I wish that I spoke to him more about religion and stuff, but I was so drunk myself that I was just bouncing.
Yeah, I could tell by the end of it. Do you remember having that last conversation with me?
Not really.
Where Mislav was like, man, this is the best wedding I've been to in a while. But I thought about this, and I'm going to be honest. That event yesterday, which was a day before, so the wedding was on Saturday. On Friday night,
I don't remember.
my parents booked a community hall. There was about 40 people in this room, and there was an Eskimo DJ that was so cold in the corner. Dude, my brother was pissed off at me. He's like, "What is wrong with this DJ?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It's fine for the event." He's like, he forgets to play music. There's dead silence. Someone has to go up and say, "Hey, next song, please."
He looked like he was doing an Excel spreadsheet the whole time.
He was doing it. Anyway, so Mislav, like, in his drunk, so he's like, I thought about it, that event last night, greatest thing I have ever been to. Beats this wedding.
You were out of your mind.
And then I proceeded to ride home drunk on my bicycle.
And don't know how you got home.
I don't remember. Like on the M4, just being like... And dude,
why is it every time you forget about your life, it always includes you traveling dangerously down a highway?
M4.
What?
And also, I remember this though. I remember I found the situation of me pissed off my head driving home. I found it so funny that I was audibly laughing out loudly for like the whole way, just going.
You're a madman.
Just laughing.
That's so scary.
Yeah, you came in.
LA crackhead.
I lost one of my earpods because it's gone. I've lost one. It's like $100 gone. It's so annoying.
I did message them. They said like they don't know. But here's the thing: when Jordan came in with his girlfriend, he was saying, "I was like, hey, grab a drink," and he's like, "Well, I'm a designated driver, but I guess I can have one." And then I see him about 40 minutes later, drunk, and he's looking at his girlfriend, who thought that she was gonna get drunk. And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be honest, I can't drive." And then you could see her.
It's my buddy's wedding.
You could see her like drunk, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Okay, I gotta sober up. I gotta sober up."
And then I'm just like, "Hop on my bike. You don't need to drive."
And he rocks up wearing the fucking same suit that he wore to the Brus in the Brus video.
His one suit.
My one suit. That's all I got.
That was
everything else I own is a prop or like clothes from Kmart. That's it. And I did. I wore a prop.
Yeah. And when I put up that picture from the henna night on Upload, people were saying,
"Oh, this is so good. This is so good."
They didn't put any effort into it because Jordan and Mislav for that they just wore. I think what they're wearing now.
Right now.
No. What's the other
someone
comment?
said, "He's like, to be fair, I think Mislav did put an effort."
And he did. He did. He oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, he was wearing different shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
And socks that are slightly less stupid than usual. Just like hot dogs or grapes.
Slightly less loud socks.
Loud.
They're so loud. They're so pride. They're so Pride Week's not over for me yet.
Yeah.
Babe.
It's Pride Week every week.
Every week is Pride Week.
When your love life's a shambles, you've got to wear loud socks at least.
You know what was incredible as well is seeing Miss, who also has a shaved head, and the DomeKang standing together, the only two Christians in this heavily outnumbered Muslim. They were like Christians in Syria. That was them, and it's just all these fucking muzzies, and then you see these two cunts in the back discussing Christianity, and also just dressed like really like stoically, like depraved of any joys or pleasures in life. Like Miss was just dressed in like a really green, like almost like like what would you would imagine like a holy man of Islam in a prison would dress in.
He was dressed like Bart Simpson being forced to go to church. It's like none of it suited him.
Yeah. No, actually, you know what? He was dressed exactly like Bart Simpson, imagining himself in his 30s washed up. He was dressed like that. And and dude, like I just see from a distance these cunts clearly discussing Christianity, this sea of Muslims, and like and you see them just talking to each other, being like, and then Mislav just takes out his little cross out of his thing that he was just like secretly hiding behind it, and like, just to show that he's a fellow holy man. That like he can't make that too prominent in the current environment. It wasn't safe.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, just so you know, when shit goes down, you got my back, I got yours, right?
Yeah, that was what was happening there. That was incredible.
Dave Chappelle joke, like black people on a plane before being
hijacked. That was it. They were there.
I also have this, which I
also Mislav, I want to ask.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the sea of Muslims? How did you manage?
I gotta say, all lovely people on both sides. No, honestly.
And some of them, I assume, were good Muslims.
Some of them, I assume, were good Muslims. No, dude, honestly, so lovely.
Yeah, but like there was a lot of tanness.
Yeah, but I was into it. I was just like, I'm ready to convert. They were such nice people, such nice, well-spoken people. And you know what I will say too? There was no ego in that building. I don't think there was one person with an ego. Maybe like your editors had some ego, but that's masked by anxiety anyway. So it was just like, it was just such a pure, like, event. Dude, it wasn't the booze talking. I really did have a good time.
All right, well.
That was awesome.
Now, look at this photo and laugh. I saw this the other day. Do you know what that is?
No.
Jordan, what's this photo?
Send it to me so I could put it up on the screen.
I'll send it to you if you want.
I'll tell you what else.
Is that some guy pissing in the bush?
Yeah, let me have a look at that. What's that? Take a look at that is.
Oh, I remember that.
What is that?
Do you care to enlighten us?
No, I don't, because just in case my girlfriend watches.
Oh, come on. Okay, fine. Up late?
Up late.
Okay, sign up to the
Sign up to Up Late if you want to know about that.
To get the goss, because
I cannot say that publicly.
Because I got a great action shot that no one knew was taken.
No. He knew.
Oh, really?
I remember that because we were crouched behind a bush.
Yeah.
And then the Stig, who was also at the wedding.
Yeah.
What a stand-up guy, by the
Also
way.
legend.
Can we just say, what an absolute legend the Stig is. The fact that he came from a distant land to come to Ali's wedding.
Dude, do you want to hear something really? I don't, maybe I shouldn't talk about it on the pod, but I had to actually call Stig and apologize.
Why? What?
I don't know if he's too, okay, fuck it, I'll say it. So I made a massive boo-boo.
He wasn't invited.
No, he was. Of course he was.
And yet he was there.
Okay, so what happened was,
What a guy.
I had invited him ages ago when I invited everyone, right? And he said that.
Then you realized there was too many seats.
No. And I said like, just come in, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna try and come. I'll travel down from Brisbane. I was like, yeah, excited, right? Then like, you know, when the wedding comes along, there's so much shit happening. I forgot that he was coming. Now, again, I shouldn't say this. Stig, you can like cut it out if you don't want it to be. But the thing is, like, you've met the Stig a few times, right? Because you will go to Brisbane and you know him. You, Mislav, also have met him. The weird thing is, I've only conversed with him online, like over the phone, and I saw him once when we did the phone interview, and I've built this entire relationship with the guy, but I kind of had forgotten how he looked like. So when I came to the wedding, he was hanging out with Connor. He was hanging out with the other editor.
You didn't know he was.
And I thought it was the editor's friend. I was perfectly happy with it. I was so happy. I was like, yeah, more the merrier, you know? But I didn't know it was Stig.
Yeah, I did that too.
And so like I just said hi to Connor and I did like a fleeting hey, and I walked away.
Dude.
No, but that's yeah, but both of you guys, that's what an international man of mystery the Stig is, which is exactly, there are a lot of people in Friendlyjordies that do not want to be, for very good reasons, identified with the brand.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, and that just shows what a low profile he keeps. These guys can't recognize him.
I didn't know.
Because everything that he ever writes is kind of just like, yeah, this is your confidential email.
Yeah.
So,
dude, Ali, I did the same thing.
Dude, I like, the guy came from fucking Brisbane for my wedding, and I didn't even say I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I called him up and I was like, look, man, I've got to.
I don't think that you should feel bad about that at all.
No,
but you don't, because
did you talk to him later that night?
No.
Oh shit.
Because I'm an
Yeah, but
idiot.
it's your fucking wedding. You're just busy as fuck.
Yeah, but I wasn't that busy. I went and saw everyone else.
Shit, you didn't know. I did the same thing.
Anyway,
dude.
I did apologize to him, and he was very gracious. He forgave me.
He walked up to me and was just like smiled, and I was kind of like, I gave him the evil eye, kind of like, I was like, and then just walked away, and then we sat down outside because I had to catch my breath because I had to get to the event in half.
Too much dancing.
No, too much cycling. I had to get there in time to win a bet.
That you didn't make.
That I didn't make.
Lost.
Yeah. No, I won. I just didn't.
He won, but he didn't make it, so null void.
Yeah. And then because I was catching my breath, he came outside and we were talking, and he was like, "Do you remember me?" I was just like, "No," and he was just like, "The Stig," and I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then I gave him a big hug and everything. So I feel like I made up for it for you. Don't worry about it.
He told me about that too. He told me that Mislav also didn't recognize him. I was like, sorry. Did you recognize him?
Yeah, fuck yeah, of course.
Because he's met
I've
him
met him like
a few times.
multiple times.
I think I've met him and I forgot. But anyway, I think it's fine. I messaged him too and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm an idiot. But he was like, it's all good.
Hey, he was very gracious in accepting the apologies, but I felt really bad. Other than that, it was great.
It was great.
That was the one regret that I have from.
I love the food too, man. The food was sick.
Well, you chose the food meal.
Well, that's probably why. I'm just telling you again. It was great.
He tested the food.
Well,
it was such a thing of just like when Aussies meet Pakistan. It was so strange. It was kind of because it was kind of just like, would you like some cheese from the tandoor oven? There was that stuff, and then there was also just like, does anyone want chicken and chips in a cup? Wasn't that amazing? Just like you're at the fucking NRL, like you're at the NRL.
That was for kids.
Chicken and chips in a cup.
Did you eat that? That was for children.
No, I didn't eat that. I'll tell you who did though. My editor. That's all he eats. So he was just like, I'll be taking care of that.
That was the kids' menu.
You fucking ate the kids' food. It's so good.
Anyways, okay, let's move on.
Well, just one more thing. Just while we're on the subject of DomeKang, it really does. Don't you think that this is a man that is a very deep thinker and truly a holy man? I asked him because I was just like, tell me about all the Christian sects. He did, and then I said, all right, tell me this. What do you think about Greek Orthodox? Obviously, because I'm just obsessed with the Byzantines, right? He said, I was down that path and I was in their church.
Jesus.
He was a Greek Orthodox for a while. That's what happened in that several year span of not speaking to him. He was a Greek Orthodox for a while.
It's like George.
Your joke about me, he did it. Yeah?
Fuck.
He was. Can you imagine the fucking conversion that you would have to go through to become a Greek Orthodox?
A lot of ass spanking, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, and that's fine. But like growing a beard, fuck.
That's just a plus.
You know what he said? You know what he said? He said their teachings of Christ are the truest of all the other religious sects. He was just like, well, it makes sense. They're the Orthodox ones. 1,000 years where Ali says that like all your academic rigor of all your smart cunts throughout 1,000 years are just focused on like trying to interpret the Bible. They're going to have some pretty deep insights about the Bible, right? He said that, and then he said, but the fact that they are so true about their religion and they're so stringent about that makes them the furthest from God. So he left. Because they like, ironically, because they're the most orthodox.
Wait, did he leave?
They're not orthodox enough for him.
Did he leave and then just start dancing immediately?
Yeah, and then it was just like, now if you'll excuse me, there's several wedding floozies that I need to hit up.
Dude, that man tried that. It was like, he did not stop dancing.
He was dancing
the
a lot.
entire night.
And also, I like how he took his jacket off. He's like, say hello to my other alter ego. Where's Waldo?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's Wally.
It's a fancy dress too, right? Like,
Dude, Sammy and DomeKang.
oh, dude, that guy.
Both of those guys.
Dude, you know what I'm going to start calling? You know what I'm going to start calling Sammy from now on?
Sammy Davis Jr.
That's pretty much very close.
Packy Tom Cruise.
Packy Dean Martin.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
Martin. He's got the hair, everything. He's Dean Martin. It's just like, yeah, he's a sexy man.
That was amazing seeing him on the dance floor because it was just like, was a grease lightning. Yeah. It was like that, but like,
these ones, like,
yeah, it was just like, John Travolta goes to Bollywood.
like, what is this? He's just like, he's like,
Dude, you know what's funny? At one point, everyone was complimenting.
What is this fucking move?
I don't know.
Actually, with this music, it makes a lot of sense to move your shoulders a lot.
Do you remember when I walked up to you and I'm like, hey, Ali, is this a Pakistani thing?
Yeah, like, look, how is that not?
But it's not.
How do you even need to ask that? What, this?
It's not.
For those of you that don't know Sammy, we've mentioned him on the pod. There's been a lot of Sammy stories. You got to go back. He's my cousin who lives, I don't know, there's so many stories, but he lives with an aging man who has a kiss in the mouth every time. Maybe that was up late or whatever.
Hey, dude, rents are getting high.
You know what, though? I was talking to my girlfriend about
he was
it.
doing that when the rents weren't high.
They were high for him.
Dude, the funnest thing was, like, after like he had done his dance, you know, those like shoulder moving things, I went up to him and I was like, dude, you're the life of the party. You're really killing it. And then his ego went up. So then I saw it. He was going around in every group, including my in-laws and people that I haven't met. And he would sit down and he'd be like, you dance so well. You're like SRK. And he'd be like, no, please don't. And then he would go on to the next table, wait for them to say that he's the life of the party, to say, no, I am not.
Jesus, miss, and you were saying there's no ego there.
Obviously, that one slipped me by.
The guy in the velvet jacket that would push people off the dance floor to be like, everybody, check this out.
And I'm watching him being like, no ego.
Yeah, I know.
The most egoless place.
These are all men of God.
Especially Jordan's editors.
Yeah. And who could forget Sammy?
Another thing that you guys might have missed. My wife's sister, who Mislav, I was trying to set you up with initially. You gave up on that offer. However, two people that did not were Sammy and DomeKang.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. The next morning I met her and she said, wow, I had two boyfriends last night. Both of them hit on me at the same time, except that Sammy went a bit further and took her number and messaged her the next morning saying, you are the best dance partner in the world.
Yeah, class act.
Absolute gentleman.
Oh, he's such a...
That's amazing. He's got like, dude, that guy should teach like pick up, but just call it like 50s game.
Yeah, the Dean Martin method. Such an egoless king. What a legend. I love that guy. I love that. I loved them all. Dude, I honestly loved everyone. Like, dude, your parents were lovely.
He loves you.
Who?
Because of what you brought to the Bucks party. That man is in love with you.
Oh, love and good vibes. Well, that's not a problem.
In fact, he told me, I love him so much, I need his number.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm sure. For my...
But don't worry, I did not give it to him at this point.
Please don't. Yeah, it'd be better if you did it.
Anyway, should we move on to the political stuff?
I think you need more people in your life with severe personality defects.
Yeah, I think I'm good for people hitting me up. Like, it's like a full-time job in that it's fucked. Yeah, let's get into... I gotta piss. That was a great party, man. Just saying. And the ride home was hilarious. Just...
There is nothing funner than a wedding, is there? I can't...
No, there's not. You're right. They're actually awesome.
Except, it's only fun if the person that's getting married is close to you. If it's someone that's kind of distant, they're boring.
Oh, yeah.
However, I tried to avoid that this time around. I didn't want to do speeches until my mother-in-law came up to me. He's like, can my husband do speeches? He's prepared one. Were you there for the speech part?
Yeah.
Dude, it was funny because my dad was like, and when we migrated here, our first people moved here 50 years ago, and then the thing keep going. Just like how my in-law, like, you have migrated, and then he comes in, and the first thing he's like, oh, by the way, we're convicts.
Yeah, that's right.
As soon as he said that, one of my wife's aunties just knocked me, and she's like, well, he didn't have to say that. Anyway, it was a funny day.
It was sick, man.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you, everyone that has wished me, and thank you guys for coming for all the events and making them memorable. Dude. All 3 of them were fucking awesome because of you guys. The Bucks was great. The henna night was also good. According to Mislav, the best event ever. And the wedding was obviously mad. Thank you, and thank you for the wishes as well.
Dude, congratulations. And the difference in the speeches were hilarious. It was like UN delegation for peace treaties, and then some guy at a bowler being like, your family, I guess, fuck, this is hard.
Yeah, that was so good.
It was so good.
Sweet.
What's my daughter's name again?
Jeanette? So good, man.
I don't know, there's 2 of them.
It was great. All right.
50-50 change.
Also, we are dangerously low on chicken and chips. I repeat, dangerously low on chicken and
Stop
chips.
paying up my father.
Sham editor just came in and like clean sweep the whole chicken and chip supply. I told them to double the amount. Unfortunately, we didn't have access to that fat black chick.
Some bloke dressed as a Joker just cleaned it all up. You know what you said?
No. He looks like a master chef judge.
You said nice.
It was amazing looking at how many people in that party had like retarded dress codes.
Dude, you said.
Well, including me, I look like
You looked amazing.
No, you looked amazing.
Bro, hilarious.
You looked incredible.
Bro, I did
Dude,
look like a
you
bit of a
upstaged your wife. That's incredible.
She looked amazing too.
She looked amazing, but just not as amazing as Ali.
This is what you said with your editor. You said the jacket says MasterChef Judge. The shirt says the Riddler.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
MasterChef Judge. He did look like.
Just gonna have to inspect these chicken and chips more. Pleasant aftertaste. Might need another one of those just to.
McCain was a good choice, but I would have gone for the home brand Aldi selection. It's just more savvy.
Doesn't have to be that fancy.
You've wasted your overheads here, but on effort, Anyway,
all right.
Budget's a consideration.
Great times all around. And
you guys
congrats
are next.
again. Congrats
I want to fucking enjoy your guys' wedding too now.
I think he's
So
the
do
next
it quickly.
One. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Jordan. This is a segment that I have to bring up that I think you might not like, and I haven't prepped you for it.
Weddings.
But I have a couple of complaints for the current government.
Oh shit.
So it's about like
Number 1, Anthony Albanese is too handsome. Well, I'm glad that we got to the bottom of that. We can move on.
Number 2, Anthony Albanese is not handsome enough. They're conflicting narratives.
and that's the problem. It's a quagmire that we've got ourselves into.
And number
He really
3,
should change his name to Mr. Kickass.
And number 3,
kicking ass because he's doing it all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
And number 3, how can Labor be so good? It's just annoying how good they are. No faults.
But my thing is, it's related to cost of living. Obviously, he's not particularly responsible for cost of living, but so like how the government is complaining to the RBA about the interest rate hikes, right?
Yeah.
And the interest rate keeps going up because
Housing.
inflation hasn't been curbed, right? And the unemployment level, or what I would call pseudo unemployment level, is like really low at the moment. My problem is, why are you... First of all, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but we've done a podcast on this before, and this is my opinion. I have studied economics, but I am not an economist. I haven't, after uni, I never really paid attention to it as much. However, I don't think that the Reserve Bank raising interest rates is necessarily a bad thing in this current economy.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult. Trust me, it's difficult for me too. I am not some rich guy. It affects me just as much as it's affecting you guys. However, in terms of economics, I don't think it's a bad idea because otherwise we'll go into a cycle of stagflation.
Yeah.
So my argument is, why is the government complaining about the interest rate hikes when they're pursuing an expansionary boom policy themselves? For example, giving subsidized energy rates. For example, giving subsidized petrol rates. I'm not saying that these decisions are good or bad. However, if you're going to do that, inflation will go up. And if the inflation goes up, the RBA will have to increase their interest rates. And you cannot do this like public witch hunt of the RBA president if you're kind of responsible for what he's doing. And also, he can't say much because if he says it, he's definitely going to become partisan. And I'm not trying to defend him, but I am kind of like complaining about Albo a little bit, particularly because reining down the interest rates is not just the RBA's job. If the government increases its taxation, and I'm going to bring up another little thing, which particularly going for things like the stage 3 tax cuts and stuff, you've lost right to complain. So what I'm saying is like all of this problem is not created by them. I'm not blaming them for it, but the current policy is a legitimate one, but it also makes you have to shut up about the interest rates. If you want to talk about the interest rates, then you have to increase taxation. Because what the RBA does, it affects the people at the bottom the most and least at the top. The government's the only institution in position to do something about that. For example, raise taxes for the very rich. If you do that, trust me, inflation levels are going to go down because they're going to have to buy, unfortunately, 8 houses instead of 10 this year around. So I'm just saying, like, Albo, shut the fuck up about the RBA guy, and you need to do your job. You need to also help them.
I don't know enough about it. Look, I think that, yeah, you are definitely right about this, that, like, look, the RBA can basically just do two things, which is just invent money and raise interest rates. That's pretty much it. Yeah. That's all the fuck they can do, which just it astonishes me that they have 800 eggheads sitting there looking at one graph and being like, yeah, again, let's get lunch. It's such a useless institution.
There's like heaps of complaints. Like, what the fuck did you do? Like,
dude,
yeah.
I love that point you made in one of your self-help videos being like, that's what businesses are like. You'd be surprised how much this is how it goes. Like, does that look good? Yeah, I think that looks all right. Should we talk about this topic? All right. Lunch, yeah.
Isn't it? It's every office job. That's it.
Should we get lunch?
Just a bit of like people nervously waiting for someone else to do a decision and thinking about lunch. Yeah, that's what else the RBA chairman can decide. Yeah. When's lunch?
He can't even do that. It's out of the scope.
Yeah, that's out of his jurisdiction. He's just like, well, you know, if you look at our bank charter, like,
there's a lot of
this is CFO really has your.
Do you think Albo can increase? Okay, now you're the expert on the political side of the thing. So, do you think Albo can raise taxes and still get reelected, or is that just not a possibility?
No, that's not happening. That is absolutely not happening.
So then we're screwed in this cycle.
Well, yeah. Look, the thing is, this is what I've realized. Like a lot of people cannot get their heads around, which is that, like, dude, economics, science, all this stuff is a factor that, like, and I actually do think this, that a responsible government puts into measure. Another measure that governments really do need to get into power, that is just part of politics and always will be, and anybody that thinks otherwise is completely delusional, is interest groups, public sentiment, what you can actually, actually implement. Like, a good example is like with housing, how the Greens are just like, just spend the $10 billion now. And it's just like, well, first off, that's a fucking stupid idea because you wouldn't be able to spend it all in that term. If the Liberals get back in, like, they're just going to cancel it outright. There's like all those things. But the other thing is just like simple things that are always just like, yeah, they just magically figure it itself out. It's just like, where are you going to get the fucking lumber for $10 billion worth of housing? Where are you going to get the manpower for it? Like, these are all in massive shortages. Where the fuck are you going to get that shit? Like, these things are just never... These are just... A responsible government has to put all of those things. When it comes to the stage 3 tax cuts thing, they lost an election on that. They are hanging on by a thread now. Even when people say...
What do you mean they're hanging on a thread?
Huh?
Who's hanging on a thread? Labour?
They've got, what, like a 2-seat majority after they won one in, like, a by-election. So it's just like it's a fuck-ass tiny majority.
Right.
It would be so easy if they touched stage 3 tax cuts to turn it into the same thing. Like, think about this. Like, Bill Shorten really, like, one of the main things that they focused on was franking credits. That affected 0.6% of the population. This is something that people don't understand about the stage 3 tax cuts. Yes, it disproportionately affects the rich like any fucking tax cut ever does. Like it's always going to disproportionately affect the rich in terms of like being good for them, right? Any tax that you ever do that, it's just because there are so many people in this country that aren't the top 1%. Did you know? It's 99% of the population that aren't the 1%. So like when you're talking about all of these things like raising interest rates and people being like, oh, that disproportionately affects the poor, everything always does because they're the mass of society, right? But the thing is, when it comes to the stage 3 tax cuts thing, people on $60,000 or more, and $60,000 is, what are we talking about there? Nurses?
Yeah.
Nurses,
Cops?
entry nurses, entry cops, entry
Like,
military personnel.
Most public servants, military. Most people in this country would be benefiting from those stage 3 tax cuts. Could you imagine how easy it would be to spin that around as Albo's kicking you in the guts by not giving you a tax break in the middle of inflation, in the middle of cost of living? How easy it would be to spin that around if they didn't pull through with the stage 3.
It would be easy to spin around, but it makes no economic sense because...
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Like, dude, economic sense is a factor. That is one factor that a government has to put into play. One factor.
Man, we got to work towards a society where those factors get primacy. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
If you just look at
you
the
do.
situation
But like the thing is,
now,
Ali, are you ever going to get to that society? I would argue no.
Man, no. Look. Maybe that's like it's an aspirational goal. However, having said that, like. Bro, it's bad economics to do that now. Straight up, I'm gonna say it. Okay, now here's the other thing. I wanna also make one thing clear. Albo's long-term economic strategy, fucking awesome. Love it. In fact, he's about to do a press club speech on his long-term economic outlook, which is going to be about. He's basically implementing the superpower thesis, right? He's trying to export energy from renewable energy to all of these developing countries in Asia, which is great. Like, this is perfect. The liberals were snoozing on that stuff, and finally we've got a government that isn't doing it. So the long-term strategy, I'm all for.
His IR reforms, great for the economy as well.
Yeah, his IR, international relations reforms are...
No, industrial relations.
Industrial relations, yes. Look, there's a lot of good things about him. I'm picking the one thing that is... his short-term economic strategy is bad. It's too focused on the next election cycle.
Yeah, but you need to win that election to implement the long-term strategy.
Yeah,
because
I get
again,
that.
you're not getting that under the Liberals.
I get that, but the facts remain facts. Some of his short-term economic policy is not good. It's only going to perpetuate more problems.
Yeah,
like
but
the
they're aware of
cheaper
that.
petrol. This is the thing that, like, look, for all those that are listening right now, I understand that if you see the petrol prices at $2 and then after bringing in a subsidy, it gets to $1.50, you think in the short term, yes, like less money being spent from my pocket. But believe me, in 1 year, that's the savings that you've made is going to diminish by threefolds because everything would have gone up. Like it's such a short-term outlook on things. Like when we're going through a boom, like a boom in the sense of like the economy's just heated up. There was too much spending. There's a whole host of reasons why that is. A lot of them are long-term housing policies that we have. Some of it was short-term, COVID, whatever it might be. But the economy is heated up. And by like giving more subsidies to petrol, energy, and tax cuts, you're only heating it up more. Like the value of dollar is going to go down. So what you think, if you've saved $2 now, you're like, fuck, I've saved $2, but that $2 is going to be worth 50 cents. So you've actually lost out. And I think like we all should just recognize that. And just because beyond this is a short-term thing. Because if we keep doing it, if we keep heating up the economy, then we go into that stagflation cycle where it's going to be impossible for us to control. So if we tighten our belt, including my belt is getting really tightened up as well. But without doing that, we're headed for some like a bad decade ahead of us.
I don't like that.
Yeah, look, honestly though, Ali, I think that really when it comes to inflation, like I was making this point in a video recently, it's just like when inflation kicks in, when the horse has bolted, it has bolted. Like it's going to be painful regardless. Like the next few years are going to be painful. Now, when it comes to subsidies for fuel, when it comes to subsidies for energy, these are things that keep the economy ticking over. You have to do something to address them.
But the thing is, we need to slow down the ticking economy a little bit. That's the point. Because if we don't do that, then inflation is not going to get in control. So if you can't tick the economy is ticking already. The economy ticked a bit too much in the last 3-4 years. That's actually part of the problem. Now, people might say like, well, if the economy is ticking, how come I'm not getting any richer? Because like, unfortunately, it didn't benefit you as much as it benefited the people that were at the top. And when I say the top, I don't mean the 1%, I mean the top 30%, right? So there's a big number. Sometimes it's easy for us to be like, well, it's only just 1%. No, there's a lot of winners from this process, and they made a lot of money, and that's caused a problem. But the only way that we can actually fix this is by reducing the speed of the economy. We need to like actually bring the economy down ourselves. That's my point of view. I'm sure there's economists out there that have a different point of view, and you can listen to them. You can do some more research and enlighten me if I'm wrong about this. But from my maybe rudimentary understanding, this like bullying the RBA governor to halt the interest rates is not going to fix anything. It's only going to make things worse.
Yeah. It is also good to keep in mind, though, that like they absolutely did make the wrong decision in printing more money. But I do think that you are right about the Reserve Bank governor just, steadily increasing interest rates. That's all he can do, and that is the right decision given the current climate. You are right.
Look at the stats. The inflation is not going down, even now. Yeah. We talked about this about 6 months ago, and we did say that there's no guarantee that the inflation rate is going to go down. The man has only one thing he can do.
But man, having said this though, like it's very easy to just zoom in on this and say like, oh, you're doing this wrong policy and you're doing that wrong policy, and like, there's grey areas in all of that. But it is also very important to note that this is happening worldwide.
Yes, that's
this is
true.
Not just Australia. Like everyone is feeling the pinch, and it is actually quite brutal. I remember asking people in my comments and people from other countries. You do have to remember this as well. Most other developed countries have it way worse than we do.
Really?
Yeah, that's true.
They do. We are doing quite well.
We're technically still not in a recession. By the way, New Zealand did their stats just came out. They are officially in a recession.
Shit.
Europe has been in a recession for about 6 months now. England is, like we've mentioned before.
England's a third world country now.
Yeah. England's fucked now.
Is a poor country at this point.
Yeah.
It's the poorest in Western Europe. And
man, if you have soup kitchens in middle class suburbs, something's gone wrong.
Is that because of Brexit or Russia or both? Just a little
No, it's just having fucking
Perfect
Tories there for
storm.
10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Australia is in definitely a better position than these people. In these countries, there's
Canada, America, they're not doing well, man.
America gets.
Are they in a recession?
Their stakes are a little bit different. They're not in a recession yet, but like America's like their banks are collapsing. The ones that they're not major banks. These are small banks that were mostly in tech investments, and they're collapsing. But that's a problem for everyone in the world. America's a weird place, man, because America has a few inherent advantages. Like their economy, their currency being the reserve currency helps them a lot. Because so what happens is like all third world countries that were really economically stressed, and now in this situation, they're basically defaulting. And as soon as they start defaulting, the elite of these countries all of a sudden convert their assets into US dollar denominations because of it being stable and reliable because everyone in the world uses it, which automatically helps the American government.
Yes.
Because they can just produce the thing that everyone wants.
Yes.
So they're a little bit different. However, they're not in a good position either. There's not many countries in the world at the moment that are in a good position. Australia's also not in a good position, but it's in a better position compared to the others. And we do have a bright future. Like if I was in UK right now, I would be like crying.
Shit, it's that bad.
I don't know what recovery there is because you need to start from you need to get back into manufacturing. which is in itself like just the investment of that is a 2 to 3 year process, and gaining like benefits out of it is like a 8 to 10 year process. And I don't even know if they're capable of doing it.
I don't know either.
It's that bad.
Yeah, all I know is like people that are in like fairly well-paying jobs in the UK can't afford to keep the lights on. Not the lights on, the heating on. You know, they have to budget for it so that they can keep it on during the harshest months of winter.
Which you know, 10 out of 12 months.
Yeah.
So is it like? Is it because? is it
Kick them when they're down.
Is
It keeps raining there too. Fuckwit.
Fuck your country sucks, dude.
So, like, what specifically out of the Tories' policy fucked England so badly?
Oh, dude,
Are the Tories in now?
I'll tell you what.
Tories in now?
Yeah.
So what? What was the go? What's the go there?
The first one was
Rishi Sunak.
Yeah. Oh, he should never let an Indian in. No, just kidding.
Maybe not that.
well, Ali agrees, but
I agree on multiple levels. Every Indian should stay the hell away.
This is a jocular statement made by a jocular. Just call him Peter Garrett.
India's doing relatively better, but they are doing better. Again, if you're Indian, you might get annoyed because they right now have like this thing of like, we're doing awesome. We're the next big thing is like, I can go into like details of why I don't think they have a bright future. Quickly, India is a net importer, right? So they buy more than they sell. They sell a lot of things. They sell IT, but they've got a good export sector. However, on an average,
Spices
too, I guess. However, so they make up by that by getting a lot of foreign direct investment, and they're getting heaps of foreign direct investment. That's why their accounts are always like showing a surplus at the moment. But the reason why they're getting foreign direct investment is because a lot of investment is moving away from China, and because India is in this position to counter China. All the Western countries are like, look at India, start investing over there. That does not change the fact that they still are close to the manufacturing hub that China is. So what I'm saying is, like, let's say in future, this is a very reasonable scenario. There's some kind of conflict in the South China Sea. America rallies up all of its allies, like they did with Ukraine, and they say, everyone, we're now going to raise the temperature against China. Do you know what's going to happen? None of Americans or even Australians want to know this, but I can guarantee you this. India's going to be like, fuck you, not our problem. That's what India is going to do. And they will be right to do so because they're not insane. Who wants to go and fight? Unless you're Peter Dutton, no one wants to go and fight this war. No. It's only America and China, obviously, because it's defense. Maybe Korea, Japan, around them, depending on what kind of conflict it is, what causes this conflict, they might want to get in on it. But unless China attacks India through the Himalayas, India will not side with anyone. They've had a history of being neutral, and it served them well. Good on them. Their foreign policy has been great. That's actually a good thing about India. However, if that happens, all of that investment that India is receiving is going to dry up. And once that investment dries up, then India is in a bad, precarious situation as well. All of the success stories in India currently are in fintech. So basically they've managed, and this is a great achievement of theirs, they've managed to like basically make a cash economy irrelevant, which is great for a third world country like India, and good on them for doing it. Corona caused it, demonetizing, there was a bunch of things that caused it. But because of that, there's a huge amount of money that can be invested in India at the moment because all of the money has gone from cash into banks and banks use it to invest in different places. However, none of those investments have, because at the end of the day, you learn this the hard way. The only way a country makes money is by exporting things and gaining currency from overseas. We do that with our iron ore and all of our commodities that we export. We were lucky we didn't have to like build the ability to make proper manufactured goods like Korea does with cars and computers or China does with everything else. India doesn't have that at the moment. And so India's future depends on how geopolitics happens. So anyways, that was a little snapshot of India.
What do the Tories do?
But you're right. Everyone in the world is going through this crunch.
What do the Tories do? Just give me a few reasons why they fucked England. I'm just curious.
Oh, the Tories fucked England. Well, first off, one of the major things was
investment.
See, that was the thing they're supposed to be good at, and they even screwed up on that. I don't see anyone walking around with a top hat anymore, except for that one lord in Parliament.
Yeah.
But
a literal lord.
A literal lord.
Yeah.
Look, okay, I'll give you my argument of what's wrong with, and the Tories did cause it. It's actually Margaret Thatcher. So
Yeah.
So what they did was they, like Americas, they really deregularized everything. They unleashed the banking sector. But unlike America, which has a lot of different things that they also do, England just specialized in that. London became a financial capital. And now what's happened is...
Look, I will give them this, though. Like, in that one field, they did excel at it. But
they did. They were great at it, but they chose the wrong field. So
yes.
At the time, it seemed like nothing could beat banking, right? Banking just made so much money. Wolf of Wall Street, blah, blah, blah. But, like, in post-2015... already this has started to happen. The investment in banking sector was diminishing and the investment in tech sector was growing.
Right.
Unlike America, Britain did not have a tech sector.
Didn't have a Silicon Valley.
And now, post-COVID...
It had Wessex.
It had Brick Road.
Banking has collapsed.
Eel pie sales are down too.
Banking has sector in general is collapsing, and you really either go back, if you're a semi-developed country, you go back to straight up old school manufacturing. If you're a developed country, then you go into the tech sector.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, look, I will say this about the UK, though. It's just like, look, they really cannot compete on manufacturing.
They've got to figure something out, bro. Because otherwise they're headed for demise.
Really?
They've got to figure something out. Well, it's already happened. But
to the Tories now, I assume good people. I assume that there's some people in there that aren't idiots and they see that.
Yeah, but they're just hamstrung by the finance sector. They're completely owned by it, and so they're not going to be doing fucking anything about it.
Really?
I'm sure they're well aware of what the problem is and what to do about it. They're not going to do anything about it, though.
What's like Labor's alternative there, or what is an alternative? What's their alternative?
Fuck, dude, like now it's just like a thing of just like, dude, like England's problem is, I think this is a really good way to look at it. If the Tories are in for 10 years, it takes about 20 years to undo their fucking damage. Right. If you have like a government in there that's even willing to do it in the first place, you know? But another thing is, yes, the Margaret Thatcher thing is absolutely correct. But the other thing is the UK Labour Party did actually stabilise their economy, which is a huge accomplishment, especially when you have the banking sector that has such a stranglehold on the country like they did. And they still got them out of the GFC quite well, comparatively. And then for no reason, very soon after you had a change in government, the Tories came in and then they just started enacting austerity measures that was supposed to be an answer to the GFC, even though it was fucking over. And then they just did that. And so they've just really fucking bottomed out the building blocks of every economy, which is the lower and middle class, who have no fucking money now.
Right.
And didn't have any money before all of this shit, and now it's just worse.
Our Tories did exactly the same, except that we lucked out with, again, the national treasures that we have. Like
the national treasures, we had that, but you know what else we had as well? We had an opposition that was in a very viable position to win election that kept pressure on them that kind of like made them recede a bunch of their austerity measures. In the UK, they didn't have that. And so most of those austerity measures just went in full fucking throttle. You know, so ours were like actually like temperate austerity measures in comparison.
So apart from that, would Australia more or less be exactly the same situation as England if we didn't have all these mad exports? Yeah,
more or less, and also like
worse.
Just
because we don't even have a thriving banking sector like England does.
So Australia's only economy is exporting coal and shit. That's it.
No, that's not fair.
What lobsters?
What else do they do?
No, like, look, you know, we do have like a huge education import and export sector. That's
the one thing that you're right about, but that is literally the only thing. By the way, there's other countries that also offer it. It's what makes our education sector good is the fact that people want to come to Australia.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so if that goes away, the education sector goes away. So Jordan's right. Education sector is one that is good, but then you go above that, it's fucking coal, iron ore, and in future it'll be like lithium, it'll be like other shit. It's that energy. We are not competitive. The other thing that we do have is we're very, very competitive and awesome at exporting grains and food commodities and packaged meat. But still, if you just keep that, bro, we're screwed.
Yeah, it's all third world
nothing.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's bad. Isn't there like some party that's putting forward in a thing being like, let's become the tech capital of Australasia?
No, see, again, this is the same thing as just like, we're bringing back manufacturing to Britain. We'll never, like, if we wanted to do that, we should have started that in like the 70s.
But what is what would be an alternative for Australia to invest in?
I think Albo's strategy is actually pretty good.
What is it?
It's the energy superpower thing. That's definitely it. Like we can do that. Green power.
Is he doing it?
Yeah, he's interacting that entirely, which is huge. It's like he's absolutely right about that. Another thing that I don't think you're giving enough credit to, though, Ali, is like Keating enacting like a service economy in Australia, again, is because of our like geographic location, which is the fact that we can export all of these services to other countries that don't speak English so well, but we're closer than all the other English-speaking countries. So we do have that advantage
I
as
do
well.
have a criticism of that view, because you know how they say, it's going to sound shit, but like, you've heard that saying, those who can't do, teach?
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Those who can't do, build up their services industry.
Yeah.
Service industry is an easy thing to do. In fact, India has a great one. I just told them their economy is fine. Service industry, at the end of the day, you got to... Do you know what's a great success story for Australia? Fucking Rode microphones.
Yeah.
That's economic power.
Right.
Yeah.
It's when you create a product that's so good that everyone in the world
knows
it.
it. Yeah.
And you create it yourself.
And we've got fuck all of that.
Yeah, it's that's we need.
Wait, isn't Rode Australian though?
But you know what else as well? Like
That's
you know what? Like Rudd identifies that as well, which is just that, like, a lot of this stuff is supposed to come from the innovation of the private sector, right? And he's just saying that the culture of Australia's corporate sector is not like what it is in, say, South Korea or America or something like that. Like, we just have lazy fucking corporates that have had it too easy for too long. And he's just saying every time their answer is just like, how do we increase profits? Well, we could innovate, but that would require thinking. Let's crush the unions. Like, that's every time their answer to everything. So it's not just a governmental problem. Right. And it's also just a thing of like, dude, like, once you have like a competitive advantage in the economy like we do with mining, it's very hard to come up with anything else that's like an alternative. Yeah. That's a fucking hard thing to do. Yeah. If you're good at one thing, that's a miracle.
Really?
Like in a very competitive global economy like we have.
But our tech sector will get better, miss, because what's going to happen
with
a lot of this investment in green renewables is that we're going to have to set up a whole new system. It'll be the same as what was, like, you know how Newcastle is a coal mining town, right? So everyone in that town knows something or the other about how to mine coal, how the process of that works, how it's sold overseas and stuff. When we start producing renewable energies to export, we're going to have an economy that's based around that. And that will involve a lot of tech as well. We don't currently have the expertise in it, but eventually they'll develop. And because it'll be easier to do it in Australia than anywhere.
That's pretty good. And you reckon Labor will bring that home if they...
Labor's trying to bring that home. Yeah. That is the best thing about it.
And the Libs are trying to axe it still.
Yeah, they're still confused about it.
Yeah.
They're still... In fact, like, we'll move a little tack. This was the second segment, but it relates to that. Yeah. Jordan, Tony Abbott and John Howard have just been selected by Jordan Peterson as their panelists for this massive conference that is being organized by a UAE billionaire and a British Brexiteer billionaire in London, where they're going to... And this is going to be their argument. Yeah, climate change exists, but can we do anything about it? So those guys are still saying that.
I love that Peterson's Abbott and Howard.
Yeah, the Brexiteer calls himself, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'd like to call myself a climate change agnostic.
Right.
Yes. Using our own language against us.
So, like,
and Tony Abbott and John Howard are heading this panel.
But, like, what is there?
But
is their solution, like, just keep burning coal forever? What's their economic solutions to, like, England? Like, what would Peterson and Howard and Abbott say about England?
You know what? Actually, when you listen to their arguments, you're always just like, yeah, they're solid arguments, and your alternatives are good. However, you don't fucking fund those alternatives. So you're just using it as a diversionary tactic.
What are the alternatives?
Well, like you always hear this kind of thing of like Michael Schellenberger and all these kind of cunts that like just all of that kind of route, right?
Great name.
And Jordan Peterson gets them on all the time on his podcast to talk about these things. And when people always say like, you're a big fan of Jordan Peterson, fuck off. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan of his self-help.
Yeah, so you can separate
and like,
the
dude, I get
politics.
this because I just like every self-help guru that you ever follow is always just like,
Yes.
the greatest president of all time is Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
End of story. It's just like, yeah, but like on an individual level, I think they change lives and do like great things on an individual
You can
level.
separate the politics from
You can separate those.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
I would think you can anyway.
they're always saying those kind of points of like there are numerous environmental problems that are hitting the world simultaneously, and all anyone ever does is focus on is climate change. And I am fully on board with that, by the way.
You see photos in New York
What?
being like looking like Blade Runner.
Well, when
Wasn't
didn't it?
Blade Runner shot there?
Yeah, no.
Well, you know how we had those huge fires in Australia and it coated Sydney in like an orange mist?
Yeah.
That happened in New York from Canadian wildfires.
Sucked in Canada.
No, sucked in
That's
New
what
York.
you get.
So, well,
Huh? What?
fair.
I'm happy about that. for
Give them
some
back a
reason.
bit of what they gave us.
All right,
you know?
anyway, continue.
We did the
I didn't
same
know-
thing with New
two
Zealand.
jokers.
Weren't
Honestly,
there
there's
s-
one man here trying to have a serious political conversation.
That is so
and
scary.
two jokers.
It's so scary that like alpine forests are now on fire.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And you should look at the photos. It's insane. But anyway, like you can't see in front of your hand in New York right now.
Yeah, dude, America's a scary place.
Well, it
isn't it?
happened here.
No, I know, but like at least here, the conversation immediately just went to like it's about climate change, and Scott Morrison was like, "No, we should just pray," and everyone's like, "Fuck off," and shit
Yeah.
like that. Whereas there,
Whereas
it's just like you know, even in all of that thick of hue and shit like that, I didn't even know that was happening. All I knew was just like Donald Trump gets indicted. Like that's politics there.
Yeah, I know.
It's so scary.
It's weird. Yeah.
Same shit, bro. They can't. They're still talking about that stuff. Like I remember, this is in 2016, where America was still arguing that climate change is a hoax, and Russia at the same time was using the new fucking Arctic, which was fucking blocked the entire year, maybe like 15 days. Now you get like 3 to 4 months of navigable waterways, and they've like Russia's actually utilized it really well. They've developed this new navy. They just break ice and go. While Russia was working on that, the U.S. was still arguing whether climate change is a hoax or not, and that was like the dumbest thing that they could have ever done. And now they're
So-
fighting
insane,
a war
isn't it?
against
It's
it.
insane.
So anyway, what would I want to know what Peterson and Abbott and how it would say
Their
about
point
how
is like if you want to get environmental outcomes
Yeah.
per dollar, you can do much more effective things that'd have a much more beneficial result to the environment if you spent that much money that you're currently spending on climate change on those environmental outcomes. Which my answer always
What do you mean?
is,
What's the difference? What are you talking about?
huh?
What do you mean? You're saying spend the money on fixing the environment instead of what? Spending it on fixing the environment. I don't get the distinction.
Well, they're always just like everything's always just about the atmosphere and shit like
Yeah,
that. When you
yeah.
should be thinking about like nature conservation and like making
Yeah.
your forests very clean.
Yeah, but they're
not a
all-
single leaf anywhere,
I don't
folks.
think anyone would disagree with that.
Exactly. That's why they say it, but they just say it as a fucking diversionary tactic to just say like, like let's not do anything about climate change.
Right. But what
And
would
and
they-
we'll do all these other things, but they never do it.
But what would they say? Because they're like pro Brexit and stuff. What would they say if someone said to them, "All right, you're pro Brexit, you're a Tory." The Tories have clearly fucked England by putting all their eggs in one basket by investing into the financial sector and making it Wall Street, like the world's Wall Street. Now it's fucked. What do you do? How do you fix that? What would they say?
What do you mean?
You guys just
Dude, you got to go back. You got to
you guys
like,
just told me why England's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their solution?
You have to make
Those guys.
difficult
Yeah.
costs. You have to go back into manufacturing.
Yeah, but would they say that?
High-end
But
manufacturing.
would they say that? Because even that you're saying would take.
Every smart person in that country
They'd all be
is
saying
already
it.
saying
They're already saying it, yeah.
Even the Tories are saying it.
probably.
No, the Tories. I honestly, I don't know because I don't watch enough. But like the very little amount that I've listened to Tories talking about that shit, they are in that same stasis because they know what the problem is.
Yeah.
But they're in that same stasis that the Republicans are in now. But theirs is like slightly less dumb because they're like English people. So just like English, you put on an English accent, you immediately sound smart. but it's pretty much just the same thing. Like you go to their like rallies and things like that, and they kind of most of the time just pretend that like everything's fine outside, and like they just kind of just ignore it entirely.
That's their solution.
It's not their solution.
You're in the Tory party in the UK, and you see that in the last 3 years...
Who told you?
In the last 2 years, you've had 3 prime minister changed, right?
Yeah.
The instability is high. What are your priorities?
It's just political. You just want to stay in.
Stabilization, that's it. That's all you care about.
That's
They're firefighting. When you're firefighting, you're not looking at the big picture.
That's
all you're doing
insane.
is putting water on the thing that you see burning, but it does nothing because there's
like,
wildfire everywhere.
So like Peterson, he's like being a pundit on how to fix England's economy would be like just more like just throwing out bullshit ideas that could never be achieved. Like bring back manufacturing. Blah, blah,
they can be achieved.
I don't know what his opinion. I don't even know if he has an opinion.
I don't think he's even talking about
what would
like
Howard
what's
say? He'd have a
called-
fucking opinion.
What would Howard say about that shit?
How to fix England's economy.
Have you considered job works? What was that thing that he brought up?
Work choices.
Work choices.
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
Work
yes.
choices.
Fuck, he's so right. He'd just be like, unions, though virtually non-existent in the UK, still exist. They're obviously pushing up prices with wages increased.
That's his fucking point.
It's always his point. Like that man. You know when he was like, I read it from his book, but he was just like, my dad had a good petrol bowser in Earlwood when I was a boy, and then the unions came in and demanded that we pay our workers too much, and then he went out of business. Right. At that point, I realised I was going to make the unions pay.
Right.
And make them pay. He did.
Fuck. Oil.
So that would be his answer to it.
But like, surely he can look now and be like, I don't think it's unions that are fucking the economy. Surely you could see that it's like, it's the fact that, you know, I don't think the middle class is dwindling because the corrupt unions.
It's one thing to like even
Dude, if you look at the world like that and you look at it on a spreadsheet, it's very easy to argue that.
Really?
You can absolutely argue it if you are like John Howard and say like, you know, wages are increasing and wages do result in inflation, and like you can make that argument, and it's kind of just like, yeah, if you do just like reduce everyone to poverty, it will like decrease inflation.
Or you
like
could
that is
actually,
a way of doing
you could
it,
actually make this argument too.
It's like tighten the belt.
Inflation rate is at 9%. The cost of living is going up. The inefficiencies caused by a union bureaucracy is about 12%. If we fix that, we fix the problem.
Yeah.
Say that again.
You could make an argument.
Say that again.
Like
Say that again.
that inflation rate is at, let's say, 10%, right?
Yeah.
We need to bring that down.
Yeah.
Inefficiencies caused by the union bureaucracy is costing the UK economy 12% on an average on GDP.
Right.
If you fix that, you fix all the other issues.
Yeah.
You're not going to. It's completely false fallacy.
And
but you could make that argument.
It's also ignoring the fact that there's no viable industry to make money from.
Yeah,
and it's also ignoring the point that once you do that, you've made like a huge swath of the economy so poor that they can't buy excess luxury goods, which fucks the economy again. Like there's a bunch of things they're ignoring, but you can focus on that and you can make that answer, and you can solve inflation by doing that, but you cause other economic problems.
But here's the other thing, Miss. Like, it's one thing to be able to identify the problem. I can assure you there's plenty of people in the UK that know exactly what the problem is and how to even fix it. But it's one thing to know it, and there's another thing to actually do it.
Yeah.
Which is my point about Australia here.
It's really hard to actually bring back a manufacturing sector that you eroded 30 years ago.
But that's the other thing, dude. I would exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's fucking impossible. I don't think you can do it. Like, dude, their manufacturing industry was built from the fucking 1850s. Until like the 60s, and then they got rid of it in the fucking 80s in like 10 years, and like what's that? It's another 150 years.
And the countries that have managed to do it in the last 2 decades, effectively, not like us, where we just take our stuff from the ground. People that have been able to learn things, manufacture them, get them so good that everyone in the world wants them, are your East Asian countries like China, Korea, Japan earlier. And dude, their work ethics, their outlook on life is...
You're not going to compete with that.
It's very, very difficult.
You're not competing with that.
That's the thing.
And also on top of that, like...
You've got to be Korea. Can you be Korea?
No.
Not with England's population.
Nah.
And with all those lazy Pakistanis there.
Hey, lazy Pakistanis there and in Pakistan.
Wait, so don't they have coal exports in England?
Huh?
Don't they have coal exports in England?
Not on our scale.
Like a tiny
It's a tiny island, dude. Like, the thing is, they don't have any... And the only reason they had that advantage in the 1850s anyway is because none of these other countries were advanced. But now, like, you would be competing against even India. Yeah. Even fucking India
just a size
now.
thing. It's just a size thing. Couldn't the UK invest all their money into a giant PR campaign where, like, some lord or, like, the Prime Minister or whoever walks up to the screen and goes, king, 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 and be like, look at this, and it's like a nerd doing, like, making an iPod or some shit, and he looks all sweaty. And it's like that is the tech industry, or as I like to call it, incels. Don't know what it means? Look it up. Now look at this, and there's a photo of some Wolf of Wall Street guy making deals and everything. It's like that is the financial industry, or as I call an alpha. Look it up. What are you gonna choose, world? This. A message was endorsed by the government of Great Britain, and then send that to the world, and then everyone go, "Yeah, sweet, finance is cool."
Yeah, you hacked the system. There's gonna be heaps.
Would that work?
Yeah.
Advertising's heaps influential.
Yeah. Look, honestly, man, I honestly think that's all that's keeping it up, and you want to get rid of both of them, Ali, is the banking industry and the King of England. Those are the only things that are keeping up the UK now.
I think that'd be
and
a great
Andrew
ad.
Tate.
I reckon that'd be a great ad. Just king, like to a
You
screen.
did.
Don't you think?
Yeah, but I think you haven't added this that needs to be in there. Hear ye.
No, obviously I'm being silly, and, like, the free market decides that. But surely, like, advertising can override the free market.
Yeah, well, that's what it does.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. Couldn't they do that
Yeah.
as a last bid?
Look, honestly,
That'll be
like,
more
dude,
solving.
now that I'm thinking about it, Ali.
It's advertising.
what's gonna happen? Okay, everyone now thinks that financial
is
sector is
cool.
alpha. So
Is it-
what happens then?
Then they'll invest in it again and ditch tech, or at least reduce it.
All right, okay, fine.
No, that's what, like, he's not wrong about it, dude. Like, I actually think he's right. Like, what else can Britain do?
I mean,
Like, they are just a giant bank now.
Dude,
The
they
Bank
need to-
of England.
I mean-
That's what they should just rename themselves that as part of the big PR campaign.
Dude, they need to, like...
And make that little line that they have on either side of it, just one just being like, go on, you know you want to take a swipe. Rare.
I'm the only one thinking outside the box here.
I think he's right.
They should just take Andrew Tate's advice, honestly.
And what is
Andrew
that?
Tate's
Be
like-
an alpha.
Every time I'm in my Bugatti, I come out and I've got a watch on and I'm scared that someone's going to steal it. And there's at least 15 people eyeing you to steal it. So I've got to carry out bodyguards. And you can't live like that.
Yeah,
Romania and Dubai are way better. And he's right. Like,
mad.
dude, because of this
Great.
one of the other things that England had really well was that it became like the playground for the rich of the world. So this financial sector, a lot of it is just passive investment. Let's say some king in fucking Saudi Arabia or some Dubai sheikh has like $40 billion that needs to be invested somewhere because it's overflowing. They would choose the city of London, yeah, as like their destination.
Yeah.
And now the city of London is pretty trash from what I hear. Like crime is infested. The fact that the cost of living is going up.
Going
and
there
is-
for a week. Missy's gonna have to keep his wits about him. But
The
anyway.
Bank of England.
Well, so they need to like at least sort out, become more stable. They need to have a prime minister that lasts more than 4 months
I would be
as a minimum. That's step one. That's
Yeah,
easy to do.
Yeah.
Then they've got to like clean up their cities, and maybe after that they can have some of that, financial sector investment as well. But again, you're trying to like reinflate the same bubble.
Yeah.
That's a short-term strategy that you
Well,
could
can't-
pursue, but the long-term strategy needs to be that you need to diversify your
Well,
economy.
can't they just shift to tech then? Put all their money in
It's
tech.
not easy. Everyone in the world wants to do it.
It's so easy. You just get some. Everyone's a nerd now. It's easy as fuck. You just
Well,
fucking.
Miss,
Come on.
it took you 3 years to figure out Twitch. It's not that easy.
I'm not the right example. I'm not the good metric for like being a
That's the
productive
problem.
person.
There's heaps of you in England.
Nah. It's mainly
Man,
nerds
you know
now.
what actually
It's
is the
mainly
problem
nerds
with
now.
Europe? You know what is the problem with Europe now? And that's why, like, the EU actually is a good idea. Everything's just too small to do anything.
Really?
The population, like, they're very advanced because they're just rich from the get-go, right? But, like, now, if you think about it, in this day and age, like
tiny.
things like mining, no, that's not going to happen. Like high-end manufacturing, that's not going to fucking happen to these places. Their populations are too small. They've had the good life for too long. They can't go into just like being like beefy is now making beef. Like they can't do any of that shit.
Right.
There's really nothing really Europe can do with their tiny little. That's why you do have to pool all your resources together in the EU and just be like, we're this big block now. That's all you can do. And so moving out of the EU, now that I think about it, is just such a fucking stupid idea.
It was the dumbest decision they could have been taken.
I mean, I can understand some of the impetus.
And now I feel like a lot of them now know it.
No, apparently everyone wants like a revote.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand.
But no, dude, Brexit means Brexit.
Brexit means Brexit.
No,
You broke it, you boy.
I can understand some of the impetus. I can understand some of the impetus for Brexit, but like the thing is, in a competitive global economy and market, it doesn't make sense.
What?
Brexit doesn't make sense in like a capitalist economy market. It doesn't make sense. So
but you got to tell. Well, you should go take a time machine, go back to 2016, and tell yourself that firstly.
Yeah.
And then you need to tell everyone else that thought like that.
To bring it back
You
to
know
what I
what?
was saying, PR is a powerful thing.
You know what the UK's solution out of this actually is?
What?
It is the service industry. That's the way out.
What, like
That's their
tourism?
advantage. So
What do you
like
mean?
that's
what?
That's
Tourism
the
and
low hanging fruit. They're already good at it.
shit.
They can get even better.
Okay, another question. What's that?
Service industry.
Banking sector, anything that doesn't involve manufacturing, but it involves services.
But anything like outside of the banking sector. That's what I'm saying.
Like what?
They can do that shit.
Like what? Retail?
like consultancies,
Come up with like companies like fucking Flight Centre. That's like an example. Like that kind of shit.
or even like it can be things like
That's English?
No, but like
right.
that if you were a country that is still relatively rich like the UK, you can't become the next South Korea or something like that. All that you have is just a bunch of capital that you can invest in, essentially just a bunch of fucking startups, and just be like, that one works. Like with some new version of Uber or something,
they need
like that kind of stuff.
Silicon Valley, well, not Silicon Valley, but they need their own some sort of
They need their own fresh in your drink, Governor Valley. That's what they need.
Someone just said, didn't Singapore get wealth off being a trading port? I read that comment out, even though it's the main part, because I wanted to address exactly that. So, first of all, good point. Singapore is a trading port, got really wealthy off of exclusively service industry.
Yeah, but again, the geographical advantage.
Well, first of all, it's tiny. Secondly, Singapore succeeded because it was the only country that was doing that stuff in that area. If Malaysia was also doing the Singapore stuff and everyone else was doing it, Singapore would not have been able to succeed.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget that Singapore is the size of this fucking table. It's a tiny, tiny place. What's
small.
next? You're going to be like, Luxembourg is also really rich. It's like, get out, just widen your horizons a little bit.
Yeah.
Not attacking you personally, but I've heard that argument
Well, I
before.
suppose that is they're all good solutions. But it doesn't sound good for them. It doesn't sound like they're on to some... Because it sounds like there's a lot of luck involved too, in terms of like resources, the time, like you said. If you're doing is the right timing.
Well, like you know what? Like I was just reading this recently. You know what Tony Blair's son does? You know what his baby is? He has this business where he basically convinces people not to go to university and get a trade.
Not bad.
That's the kind of stuff that you should be doing.
Yeah.
Those kind of businesses, starting that kind of stuff up.
Interesting. Oh, like that as a business idea.
Yeah, that as a business idea, and then exporting that to the world.
And it's probably good for the economy too, right? Given that, like,
a
lot of degrees of bullshit.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that you can do.
Right.
Like really micro-targeting your workforce to doing those kinds of things. You can start doing that stuff. I don't know if they are doing it. But like, man, it's just like thinking about the UK now. It's just like,
and just Europe in general, man. We've got to admit that Europe is in decline. Like, it's just these macro trends. Like, you can compete against. Them
yes, but what it does have going for it that it still has to this very day, which is actually an advantage that it has of all these tiny small countries. The amount of patents that it comes up with is still phenomenal.
Really.
The amount of things that it invents that it can then just get intellectual property rights off of.
The three-wheel tricycle.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Germany.
What about this? 5 wheels.
Germany is
It's
okay.
Sputnik, that's a car, basically.
Ain't nothing wrong with
Yeah.
Germany. Boys, we're going.
Wait. But what about Germany?
Yeah, Germany's fine.
Germany's fine. You don't need to worry
They're
about it.
Why is
going
that
through a recession at the
manufacturing?
moment, but that's only because the energy markets are really volatile. And let's not forget that their biggest energy exporting country that they took energy from is like now in a state of war with them. So their issues are temporary. It's a rough time for them, but they'll recover from it. They'll be fine.
Plus, they're hardworking, studious people.
Yeah. So they'll be okay in the long term. UK, on the other hand, needs to fix something.
It is like, don't you think that is something that somebody surely is investing a lot of money in? It actually is Malcolm Turnbull's idea if you actually saw it through and it was spent on actual proper things. But there must be a group of...
George Soros. Maybe.
Well, you think he's funded by him, do you?
No, I'm
You
saying
think Malcolm Turnbull needs George Soros's money?
No, maybe Soros is funding Germany.
Yeah, well, that's, sheesh.
I don't know.
Welcome to Politics 101. Mislav.
Hey, wasn't there a thing about Soros being a Nazi or some shit?
There's a lot of shit.
Yeah, there's all that kind of shit.
Sorry, yeah.
Surely someone is trying to base an entire economy around just getting a bunch of those like Elon Musk bros and actually training them up and just being like, yeah, that's going to be our economy. These people just inventing menu log. Is that happening?
Well, it's not like Menulog's nationalized.
And also,
No, it doesn't need to be about. It doesn't need to be about nationalizing.
Right.
It doesn't need to be about it. It's mostly just about employment, really.
All right, boys. We are. Germany will never recover. I think they will. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they will.
They'll be fine. Hey, but they are going through a lot of problems. I agree with that. Here, let's move on from this because we are running out of time.
Watching another Texas video.
You wanted to talk about Jordan something.
Oh, yeah, but you guys, I just need to complain about the most boring topic ever.
Do we want to do that or misadventure? Because you have one.
Did you have a misadventure?
No, we did that already. That was extras for last week.
Oh, okay. Then let's do yours. And then let's call it a night.
Wait, what about the Texas video?
Boys.
But we're not doing that, miss.
What the fuck? Mutiny on the pod.
Okay, we'll do it at the end. And
right,
Stig, cut it out.
What? How dare you? We can do it next week.
What?
Well, next
Watch
week,
the
it's
text.
automatically going to be part
I've never
of the
seen Mislav
algorithm.
motivated for
We're
anything.
fucking
other
watching
than,
it.
Look at that.
And we can watch
The
it
fire
next
in
week
his
or
eyes.
this week. You decide. Okay?
Okay,
I'm a
Jordan,
fair man.
Do you want to give up your segment for Miss
It's
Love?
the
no.
only decision he's ever made.
Let's hear
We can
it.
do that.
No. I want to hear your segment. We'll watch it next week.
Mine is
Happy to
so
wait.
much worse than your segment.
I don't care. I want to hear it. I bet it's all right.
I got a fine the other day. What the hell?
I've talked to you about this already. Fucking hell.
Well, you asked for it.
Go on. What did you get fined for?
How bullshit is this? And like, let me just say this with the preface. I'm going to have to put on the John Barilaro suit because, ladies and gentlemen, Friendlyjordies is going to court.
He's actually going to
I'm going to court. I'm going to court.
He's fucking
I'm
doing
fucking doing it. I'm right.
What happened?
No, you're not right. You have to wear a seatbelt.
It might be the law, but what happened to justice?
He didn't wear his
Go on,
seatbelt.
no,
Fucking broken.
Give us, what are the facts of the case?
I'll
These
tell
are
you,
the facts
I'll
of the
tell you
case.
the facts. His seatbelt was fucked. That's highly illegal. And what was it? The car doesn't move, not roadworthy.
You know what? The fucking look. The cop that did this to me was shaved as well. It might have just been fucking you, wasn't it? you know it all, do you? And you're about as unnegotiable as that guy
Yeah,
was.
listen. You don't like it, comrade? Leave the country.
Well, I can't now because now I can't have my fucking license.
Go on.
So, what?
Where's he going to go?
Go. Have you? I want to hear it.
Dude, my seatbelt was broken. I was driving to the mechanic to get it fixed. Right? I was driving to the mechanic to get it fixed. This cunt pulls me up.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was bogus. Okay, respect.
No. I was actually on my way to the mechanic
Oh, that's bullshit.
to get it done.
That's bullshit.
This fuckhead pulls me over. Just so unreasonable, right? Like, who in their right mind thinks that this is okay? A quarter of your license goes into merit points because you're not wearing a seatbelt, which I think is just bogus. Because, like, dude, if you get in a car crash and you die, I'm the one that's going to die.
Fair.
And on top of that, I don't think I'm going to die in bumper-to-bumper traffic on a highway when I'm driving to get it fixed.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway,
George's getting upset.
Geordie's just getting upset. Geordie's getting very upset. Geordie's is so upset. He pulls me up. I explain to him. He's just like, why are you not wearing... Is there a reason that you're not wearing a seatbelt? I think I had a pretty good reason. It's broken, dickhead. That was my reason, right? Yeah. He's just like, okay, I'm just going to have to fine you for that. And even then, I was just like, all right, you're just clearly putting up your quota numbers, cunt. Like, fine, all right, I'll do my contribution to the state. That's all right. You get your 300 or whatever. Good on you, right?
It's a charity.
His response to, I'm driving to get it done. How else am I supposed to fix my seatbelt unless I'm going to the mechanic to get it fixed?
Just out of interest,
right?
Did you have it under your ass or not on at all?
Call Lubemobile, huh?
Did you have it under your ass or not on at
all? No, it's not on.
You fucked up. But anyway.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, right? Like, I'm not used to having a car as shit as yours, so I don't know the ins and outs.
No street smarts.
No street smarts. No, this is not my forte. No. And then he says, how's this? He says, you should have got a tow truck to take it to the mechanic.
Right.
Who on earth?
That's crazy, yeah.
First off, thinks that it's even remotely reasonable that you should get a tow truck for a broken seatbelt.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Let alone just to fill up your fucking quota to take away a quarter of my license, that I have to hold those demerit points on me for the rest for eternity. Like is that how far it is? Like 3 years?
It's 5
3.5 to 4 years. How is that 3 demerit points for that?
Crazy.
That's what gave me the shit.
That's crazy.
So I wrote back to the complaint office, which I've always made this point that it's so stupid that they even have these departments. So they're just like, if you've got a complaint, right, you complain. Because I was just like, I know what's going to happen. The cop is just going to say, oh yeah, we've decided the cop is 100%. Who'd have guessed that the guy that we have lunch with, we think that guy's right. You know? Anyway, so like
we've met him. We haven't met you.
Yeah. So I write, and then they say, we have acknowledged the facts of the case, which is that you were driving to get it fixed. We acknowledge that. However, you said to the cop that it broke 2 days ago, which is like, yeah. Was I driving it then, cunt? I've got a fucking fiance. I was driving her car. I'm driving there to get that fixed now. But like, you know, that part is just like, it was broken 2 days ago.
What's that got to do with
the tow truck all of a sudden doesn't exist. Huh?
I don't understand. So the problem was, how could they prove that it wasn't broken 2 days ago? There was a conflicting information.
What do you mean?
No, they're saying that you should have done it before.
Oh,
I don't know, or something like that. They just said he said that you said that it was broken 2 days ago. Therefore, the fine stands and your demerit points stand, and you got nothing out of it. So then afterwards, they were just like, "Don't like that? Take it to court." And I'm just like, "All right, I fucking will."
Man.
You go like this is not standing.
That's what rich guys can do.
What?
You can fuck around in court. You're a rich guy now. Do it.
Well, I don't know. I just feel
That's
like
how you guys
no.
have
I don't
fun.
even think, dude. I don't think it is. I think it's like magistrates. This is something that I will say about it, right? Every time I'm always just being like, system's rigged. I always think that it's rigged when it comes to like federal court and like all these courts where they just have like no interaction with a common man whatsoever. They're just like, and today the poorest person that I've ever met in my life, a criminal defense barrister.
Yeah,
you know, like they deal with those people. So they have no idea of the outside world. So they just have nothing, right? But a magistrate, as I've shown in Aussie courts all the time, this is what happens when you go to they're so reasonable, dude. Yeah. Because you go there. I honestly don't even think it's like, this is a poor man's endeavor. Like, if most of the people are going into court without shoes, you can afford to go to a magistrate's court.
Are you going to take your lawyer to represent you?
No. I honestly think that I can just go to them, because this is the other thing that a magistrate has, right? Like, it's just like 30 cases in a row.
So this is like IGA court.
IGA court.
Yeah. Do you know the one drawback?
What?
In case, God forbid, that the judge decides to side with the cop, that shit goes on your record. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going to be on your record. That's actually why people don't go to courts for this kind of stuff.
Dude, Jordan,
however, if you think, I personally think the judge is probably going to be like, just to like get like rid of you, he'd be like, okay, fine, whatever.
That's what I think.
That's what I think. But the drawback you should know is that in case he disagrees, that shit's on your record.
Dude, this is what I noticed from going to these courts. This is the day of a magistrate's judge, right? Dero's coming in without shoes, yelling at them, about how it's, how can something be illegal if it grows out of the ground? I was just growing some weed. My leg hurts,
And
like
he's
that
right.
kind of shit.
He's right.
Like he's got that first off, and then you just come in, you actually bow when you go in, you say awfully sorry, you hand them the thing. First off, they're just like, well, he said he's sorry. That's a huge plus over the last 30 people that came in. And then the other thing is, like, this is their day, right? This was when I was there the first time. It was just like, guy that beat his wife, what are they called? Like AVO after that.
Yeah.
Some miscreant that was in prison that had to be in on an intercom. Like a neighbor. A neighbor poisoning another neighbor's dog.
Oh.
And then I come in and I'm just like, look, I was over the speeding limit by like fucking 7 kilometers or something. And then it's exactly what Ali said. It was just like, mate, you shouldn't have been doing. Why did you go within the AVO distance? There's no reason for you to go in the AVO distance. You poisoned the dog. What is wrong with you, like that? And then you come and you're like, sorry, I was 7 minutes over. It's just like, yeah, okay, there you go. Get out.
Hopefully, but that was in Lithgow.
Yeah.
So here it could be like 7 cases of like, I went 4 Ks over. It's like despicable. I went 10 Ks over. Despicable. It could happen. I went to one of these fancy courts. In the
going
city.
to a mechanic is actually a reasonable excuse.
Isn't it?
I think you'll get it off. I thought you were lying about that. I thought that was just your little grift. And I was like,
And
go
you're
for
right.
it.
You got it 2 days ago.
No, I was
doesn't
killing
mean-
2 birds with one stone because I needed to re-register it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do both of these things at once. There you
so
go.
Oh
hit
my
you with
god!
the
Your
register.
car was unregistered.
No, it wasn't unregistered. It was like it needed to go back in for a pink slip or whatever.
It was road. It was road.
Yeah, it was still technically roadworthy.
I think you'll be fine.
I mean,
think
even
you'll
if
be
it's
fine.
like it's not roadworthy, if your seatbelt isn't working, it's not roadworthy. However,
Yeah, but
the only excuse to drive a unroadworthy
Is to go to a mechanic.
Is to go to a
which you
mechanic.
were.
You like, how else are you supposed to get it there?
It's
What
so-
is this tow truck
Yeah,
bullshit?
It's so Australian.
And it's so like, I swear to God, there will be people in the comments right now that they'll say like, you weren't wearing a seatbelt, and then they say like, oh, sorry, I forgot, and then the cop will be like, yeah, that's all right. You can just. It's just sometimes you get a cunt. That's it.
Yeah.
Someone that just needs to pull up their numbers.
That's true.
I remember I was actually with your editor,
That
and
guy was a cunt.
His light
And
was
th-
busted, and the cop stopped us. And he didn't even know. None of us knew that the light was busted, and so the cop stopped us, and he was like, "Did you know your car light is busted?" And he was like, "Oh no, sorry, sir, I did not know." He's like, "Now you got 2 options. Option 1, I give you a fine right now. Option 2, you go to the mechanic tomorrow and get it fixed.
Exactly.
Which option are you going to choose?"
That's
And your
fair.
editor was like, "Oh, choose number 2, sir."
Imagine if he goes like, I can afford it. Give
Yeah,
me one.
yeah.
Give me one.
Give me everything you got.
Yeah.
That would've been actually
and then,
epic.
And then he gives it to him. It's just like, and without the attitude. Is that illegal? Is that illegal?
It's not illegal.
Oh, it's so good to know. So good to know.
You know, like what happens if you say to a cop like you're just trying to fill up your quota?
Yeah, what happens?
I mean, nothing really. They can like.
They try
If
to
they get
agitate
pissed
you
Well,
off-
that's just like
further.
that's it. You've harassed a cop.
Nah.
You're going to
they
jail.
can-
They
can
do that.
shit like that.
What?
But that in itself, by saying that you're filling up your quotas, is not illegal at all.
It's not. But what usually happens in that situation is they're pretty good at riling that kind of person up. And they go, well, maybe you're irresponsible. And
No,
the
they
person-
can just pretend that you did something that you didn't do, and everyone will believe them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They could be like, he was being aggressive.
Yeah.
He was about to attack me. I had to
Yeah.
like take him in. Public nuisance, whatever. There's heaps of things that they can do which will make your life
But
miserable.
sometimes they're like, just so you know, the body cam is on. It's like, good, cunt. Sometimes they got that little camera on,
Yeah.
which is good. I think that's good.
It doesn't matter though. They just watch it and then they're just like, yeah, the cop was right.
Yeah, right.
That's what happens. They do it every time.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like I just feel like sometimes you
Horrible.
just get the wrong guy.
of
You know, like I
course.
swear, like you, because I've met them. I've met
course.
Legion cops
Yeah.
that are just
They're
nice.
in the country. That's
And
where.
yeah, they're in the country, and
The city,
you know, they're just
the city's full. I think the city's full of dick cops. All of them. Really?
yeah,
well, it's most of the ones that you interact with. It's like, remember when you were saying this, that cops that do highway patrol, all the other cops hate them.
Yeah, they call them cockroaches.
Cockroaches, they're roaches.
In the
Why?
force.
Because they're like stopping people from speeding.
I think it's because
It's a
they're like the
dog
most
job.
untalented, snarky little shits that just love imposing their power on other people. Like the stereotype that people have of cops is because they're usually just pulled over by these cunts. But then you have the other ones that are smarter and they're like detectives and shit like that, and they're like they're like switched on people. And
dude, some of them like actually fuck you over. My brother told me this. So my brother Saad, who has like one of those super bikes, right? So he drives around like late at night sometimes, and it's really fucking fast. He saw a red car, unmarked, which turned out to be an unmarked cop car, right next to him, and was going vroom vroom, like pretending that he wanted to race. And so my brother was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And then they both go.
Sick.
And then they go, and then he's chasing them, and then he turns on his like lights.
No.
And then he was like, why are you speeding?
Oh my.
that's entrapment. That's entrapment.
That can't be legal.
No, can't be
that's
legal.
entrapment. Of course not.
That is mental. That's mental. Like, well, surely... So I would have been like, you can't do shit. That's illegal.
No, he said, because he was speeding.
Still, it's illegal.
And then I told him, like, I gave him... That's the thing. At the time, you don't think about stuff, but I gave him, like, a really good excuse for that.
What did he say?
He said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then he got away with it?
I think he did get away with it. But I told him that, like, next time something of that sort happens... Dude, if it's an unmarked car...
What do you mean unmarked?
Unmarked as in like it's not a cop car. It's just a standard car. It's like an undercover cop.
Yeah.
And they're like chasing after you. Tell them I'm feeling threatened. Who are you? I'm not going to listen to you.
Hell yeah.
And as soon as the lights turn on, then you've got to immediately stop.
That's some lawyerish. That's some.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like at the time, he obviously isn't a lawyer, and you don't think about it like that.
That is fucked. Did that happen in Holsworthy or?
I don't know where it happened, but it happened in Sydney.
So. That's insane.
Yeah, dude. Some of them are pissed.
I reckon I would have just been like,
cops,
I would have been like, you're a cheeky bugger, aren't you? That's what I would have said. Yeah.
Anyways, boys. Sorry to hear about your tragic tale.
Hey.
It was the worst thing that's ever
I
happened
hope
to
you
me.
can recover from a $300 fine.
It's going to be your own misadventure. I'm excited to see.
There's something about driving that just makes you really angry.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
That's why I love the bike, dude. You're free.
Do you know what it does?
Isn't that amazing? That guy rides home blotto on a highway and he's walking out of the streets fine. No demerit points.
Justice as it should be.
There's something about a car.
You're a dangerous individual. On more ways than one.
There's something.
I've seen your channel.
There's something about that enclosure in a car that makes you think like you're in a social media. You know how people on social media are needlessly rude, but in real life they're fine?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that happens when you're sitting in a car. There's a level of privacy that makes you think, fuck you, he's fuck. Yeah. And here's the thing. Sometimes, those guys that are like, doing all this shit. You roll down the window or you talk to them, you get out of the car.
They're okay.
They're perfectly normal.
Yeah.
It's that behind that car screen,
yeah,
everyone's a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, they make you angry.
Anyways, thank you everyone for joining us this week. I hope
Tune in next week for our Texas special.
Texas special, which will be hosted by Mislav alone.
No, fuck you. No. I'll quit.
Well, what? So make sure you sign up to the Uplate for some juicy stories. If you were listening to the pod about the wedding and Jordan's crazy
secret photograph.
Yeah, Jordan's secret photograph. So make sure you sign up to Patreon for that, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
I'm broke forever. Oh, it's the other one.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the old one.